There's been a lot of talk on social media. I had a bit of an outburst over the weekend about, you know, positive rugby league, etc. And that wasn't aimed at anyone in particular. I want to say that before we start. We only ever say anything bad about the RFL when there's something bad to say about the RFL. And there is a lot of bad things to say. What the hell is happening to the RFL? The Challenge Cup now, Scoy. I reckon if you want to put in 100 grand, you'll be in the final. You yourself, the Belle Isle, whatever it's called, will be in the final. What the hell is going on? The greatest competition in the world, and it's a load of rubbish basically now because it's you've got to pay to get in it.
Well, it's an absolute disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace, and I've been thinking about this over, if I'm honest with you, for the last 36, 48 hours, of where the Challenge Cup has been treated. You know, and we look at the way Super League now, you know, they're just literally doing what they want to do. They couldn't care less, to be honest with you, regarding what the Challenge Cup is all about. But yeah, we're talking about the RFL, aren't we? And what they have done to the Catalans, first of all with Toronto and Toulouse, was disgraceful. But then also to the holders, the Catalans Dragons, you know, it's just absolutely laughable, disgraceful. And also, when we look at the promotion, when we look at marketing, the greatest cup competition in the world, where is it? Where is it? We haven't got a sponsor as yet. So what the RFL should be deciding is quite simple. What marquee product have we got? And the marquee product is simple, the Challenge Cup. So now there should be somebody at the Challenge Cup going out there and telling every Tom, Dick and Harry, from spectators, from sponsors to clubs, the history of this great competition. Because when you look at the competition, you look at the history of this competition, from the players who have played in it, Englishmen, New Zealand, Australian, French, Papua New Guinea, wherever. The history of this wonderful competition, which is the biggest cup competition and the best cup competition in the world. You look at the names that have made themselves with a Challenge Cup. I'll just give one here now, John Keir. What is John Keir remembered for as a coach? How has John Keir established himself as a coach? Because of the Challenge Cup. What quality people have won the Landstock Trophy? What surprises have the Challenge Cup brought in? You look at Alan Agar at Featherstone with what he did from there. And forgetting what the Super League has done. The Super League's only been going for 23 years, right? But the Challenge Cup from the RFL, with what they are doing to it at this moment in time, is absolutely disgraceful. And I'll tell you what, Mark, for me, head should roll.
Right, okay. Have Catalans just been very, very clever here?
The missing trophy.
Yeah. Have they just been very clever in the fact that they've seen the uproar about Toronto and Toronto saying, we're not paying to enter, we shouldn't have to pay to enter. And that raises another issue in the due diligence that was done when Toronto were allowed in to the Rugby League. Was any done? I don't think it was. And again, that asks questions about the leadership that has been and gone. They've been very clever for me, the Dragons, because they've gone, they probably would have said, all right, we'll pay it. But then Toronto have gone, no chance. And then Mr. Gouache has gone, hang on, why the hell we've got the trophy here? They've got to let us in. And he's gone, we're not paying it. And he's called their bluff. And the RFL have been made an absolute laughing stock, Phil. There is no other word about this now.
I don't even know where you start with this, because there is a reason why the RFL are asking for a bond. Irrespective of who they're asking it from, the first thing it tells us is there is no money within Red Hall and the governing body.
Is it fair to say, Phil, their little slush fund that they had, right? And you know, this is true. We all know it's true. They had access to money as part of the TV deal that they have basically used to cover up various, I'll use the word cock-ups in the past. That is what they've done. Now Super League have got control of all the money. They haven't got access to that money, and all of a sudden now they're making rash decisions after rash decisions.
There has to be a logic why they decided that that was what they wanted to do. Now, the only logic I can think of is the coffers are running dry. But how it got out of the building, that was a way you solve that problem, is the bit that I can't fathom. That when you sit down as a board of directors or a senior management and you say, right, there are certain issues with the Challenge Cup, I can't see us making any money on it for the foreseeable future. We don't know when the next England internationals are going to be at home. Not sure where our income is going to come from. We need some quick. For somebody then to say, let's penalise overseas teams, that would be a good idea. And Catalan have won the Challenge Cup. How that then becomes, that's going to be what we want out there in the public domain is the bit I don't.
What's the beauty of it last year, John? People who are crowd rubbish, don't they?
50-odd thousand. If they can't make money from 50-odd thousand turning up to an event, to a game, and that also raises huge alarm bells for me. I mean, what is this stadium deal that they have with Wembley?
Let's talk about attendances on two fronts. On the one hand, the principle behind asking teams to pay a bond that may not bring many fans, you can't levy that at just 2 teams. Where does that begin and end? That's the first thing. What is the actual principle behind that? The second thing is, we all know from when New Wembley opened in 2007, when, funnily enough, Catalans Dragons were one of the teams there, and nobody said it was a poor 2007, when, funnily enough, Catalans Dragons were one of the teams there, and nobody said it was a poor attendance. The issue has been that Club Wembley was counted in the attendance because it was paid for in advance by people that bought debenture tickets, so they were entitled to go to that event. If they chose not to,
that's their choice. Right. Yeah.
But 2 years ago, we decided to not include the Club Wembley, and the RFL got the chance to sell those tickets. But if you take around 10,000 fans off every attendance from 2007, it's not a lot different. The issue with the Challenge Cup is not about the teams that play in it. It's about we moved it to the very worst day of the year to stage it. And immediately it became August bank holiday. It affected the crowd, whoever was playing. Very few kids can go. Gary will tell you, Leeds and Hunslet schools used to take 1,000, 1,500 kids to every Wembley because it was the end of May. It was in term time. It was part of the curriculum. Now, the bank holiday weekend at the end of August is the most inconvenient weekend for everybody. Bank holiday weekend at the end of August is the most inconvenient weekend for everybody. But you're not going to get any kids there. So once you make a decision like that, it has ramifications that 10 years down the line will suddenly go, oh, we should be surprised that nobody's turning up at the Challenge. The issue is with the Challenge Cup, not the teams that play in it.
Interesting. Someone's asked on, you get in touch on Facebook, YouTube, I think there's been a couple of glitches. People asking if the RFL have hacked us. They may well have done. People wanting to know, John, are you paying a bond to be on this show?
I've refused to pay it, so I think Scully's going to probably kick me out halfway through the show.
Well, that's
you can get to the semis, but you're not down to
it's like an Aussie. It's like trying to get a drink out of him, not a chance.
Oh, hey,
still owe me from the pint from the golf.
Can we just
go? What?
You owe me a pint.
Oh,
can we just put on record that John Davison did buy a round of drinks when we saw him? When we went out with him, he did.
I wasn't there, so I wasn't there.
I want you to withdraw that allegation.
I'm not withdrawing it. Not a chance.
Oh well. So it's been an absolute disaster, Phil, hasn't it? It has been. What is the way out? Do they have to backtrack and back down, or are we going to find out in the next week or so that to keep their coffers loaded, they've sold Red All on the quiet, or they've sold Odds on the quiet? Is that the next step?
This can only be resolved by allowing the holders to be in the competition. I don't know of any cup competition in any sport ever where the holders haven't had the chance to retain the trophy if they want to. So I don't know where the RFL go with the decision, but they have to backtrack on that. I mean, the thing that I think is the most annoying at the moment is we're 3 weeks away from a new season. One of the highlights of the new season, which we all want to focus on, is the fact that there's going to be a game in Barcelona in mid-May that could break the crowd record for a Super League game. And that game is only there because of what Catalans Dragons did in winning the Challenge Cup.
Yeah.
So we're at the start of a season where that's what we want to promote. We want to be talking about all of the team's prospects with the great new players that are coming into the competition. I don't think any of us would deny that the standard of recruitment has been higher this year than it's been in previous years. What is the only story that is dominating outside of rugby league territory? It's the Catalans Dragons story. We've shot ourselves in the foot yet again. Nobody from national media wants to preview the competition. They all want to ring up and ask about what's happening with the Challenge Cup. If ever that is PR suicide, I don't know what is. And it comes again partly
you talk about
we've got two governing,
you talk about PR.
bodies.
You talk about PR. The only thing I've heard from the RFL recently is that they've signed a new deal for the balls. Great, brilliant, well done. Although I understand that deal was messed up as well.
A new deal for what?
They've got using the Steedham ball now.
So no one can complain that the Rhino balls are sleeping.
Oh, Rich, I didn't know you were here.
All the players, the players who, as we know, have spoken, and we'll talk about that later. The players who all moaned about the Rhino balls last year have all got their wish now. So next time they knock on, it's their fault. looking at you.
Oh wow!
See the Christmas spirit.
Wow! So there's a new.
Yeah,
ball.
it's got a new ball, but I've not heard any. I'm not hearing anything.
West Wales Raiders have had 4 points deducted, but we only knew that. We only knew that on social
So
media.
are they going to finish the season on -4?
When did that happen?
Did you not know?
No.
But also too, just going back to the
eligibility.
Catalans fellas. You know, realistically, they've been penalised for being successful, and it's absolutely disgraceful.
Well, essentially, they've been penalised for being foreign.
It's disgraceful, you know, and also as well, what would the challenge? What would they make out of the Challenge Cup nowadays, Phil? Back in my day, the club who got there was around about 250, 300 grand. So where did they come up with a £500,000 from?
They've lost over £500,000. Some will say they've lost up to £750,000.
Who, the RFL?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's their fault. It's not Catalan's fault.
No.
But hold on. Right, okay. Out of all that money that they lost, how much of it was because Ralph gave tickets away on Groupon the week before? When he had basically, was it 13 weeks between the quarter final and the actual final to go? Tell you what, fellas, they might get in. And I asked the question here, John. This is an interesting one. I got hammered for it because I put Huddersfield in, saying what happens if the semi-final draw? It's Catalan, Huddersfield, Salford, and say
Dewsbury.
Yeah. And I was, what do you pick Huddersfield for? They've got good. Right. Well, I'm not picking on Huddersfield. I'm mentioning them because they don't travel particularly well. People say, oh, they had a great crowd in the. Yeah, I'm not bothered. I'm just naming them. The RFL are going to go. Well, if Catalan get there, we get £500,000. If Batley get there, we don't get anything. It's the integrity of the competition.
Yeah, it's gone before a ball's even kicked.
Yeah.
What I think what's also going for me is that the RFL essentially saying we won't market the final. It's up to the finalists to market it. It's your job. I mean, how bad is that? They've got a whole year.
It's your job, but you'll only have 3 weeks because you won't know if you're in the final until 3.
They've got the whole season to sell the final, and the final is not just for the fans of the two clubs who are in the final. It's for all rugby league fans.
That's what the Challenge Cup has always been. So when the Challenge Cup this year finished, what was it, August the 25th or the 26th? The day after, they should have been promoting the Challenge Cup for the following 12 months.
But you're on a downward spiral because as soon as you start offering tickets for next to nothing between the semi-final and the final, why is anybody going to buy a ticket a year out in advance? They might as well just wait and get it for nothing.
Because again,
so the losses will then
because of the plan B we didn't have. Oh, we need a plan B because the Catalans Dragons have got there. We didn't expect it. Do you know what? Well,
Can you have St Helens for not turning up in that semi-final? Because if St Jude it would have been a sellout. Just have 4 teams in the cup every year.
But it isn't a sellout. Wigan Hull was nowhere near a sellout.
No,
Warrington Leeds was nowhere near a sellout.
The
issue was with the tournament, not the teams.
Do you know what, fellas, right? Do you know now? You know, say for instance, we contacted the RFL tomorrow and said, listen, the Challenge Cup now, is it when is it, July, is it, the Challenge Cup? Oh no, it's August again this year, it's July next year. So if we phoned the RFL tomorrow and said, listen, the Challenge Cup this year, August the 25th, how many tickets will be sold? Could they tell us?
Yeah, they could.
Commercially sensitive.
Are they on sale?
No, they are. No, they are. In fairness, I've had an email. My point, and we mentioned this before, right, is about the whole Challenge Cup thing. The question now is, are they admitting they can't sell out Wembley? Do they need to move the Challenge Cup?
Do you know what, Mark?
Yeah, but that's what a businessman is. What you say.
Well, hold on, Phil. But I knew he was going to bring that up, Mark. Do you know what? If they move the Challenge Cup from Wembley, they might as well scrap it because it's losing all the history.
Well, we are as we
might as well finish it
in the paper today. We are becoming like the NRL anyway. So we might just get rid of it. That might be the next step.
Well, for me, if they move it from Wembley, they might as well scrap it because it takes everything away.
I agree, and I'm asking the question, but as a businessman, if you're losing money hand over fist, you stop trying to lose money and you say, right,
so if the argument is you should debate and discuss moving away from Wembley, why have they just signed a 10-year deal with Wembley?
I don't know, I'm only asking the question.
No, I'm just saying it's a valid question to ask, but it isn't because they're committed to Wembley for the next 10 years. But you would say that if one of the ways we can make money is to throw it open like Magic Weekend and have cities bid for it.
Well, I want to speak about that later on because I'm not convinced that's all above board either.
Or if you're talking about the World Cup where cities have been invited to bid to host games, and you're going to go down that route with the Challenge Cup, which is one of the properties you've got that has history attached to it, and Professor Tony Collins today put out a podcast saying maybe it is time to offer it to the highest bidder, then you wouldn't sign a 10-year deal with Wembley, would you?
We have to ask hard questions, don't we? Because nobody else will. the marketing department of the Rugby Football League, then, what are they spending their money on? I know there's a lot of money, well, I don't know, I wouldn't say a lot of money, I don't know how much they spend on advertising in, say, the trade press or whatever. But that's just preaching to the converted who already know that the Challenge Cup final exists or whatever, and advertising on a TV station which no one watches because we can back up the figures on that. So I'm sure the R-League have got lots of exposure through sponsoring and programming, which it had its sponsorship message spelt wrong for half the season. What are they spending their money on? Where's the marketing? Where are the ideas? Even free ideas. I came with a couple of ideas yesterday on Twitter. They're not fully formed, completely great ideas, but basically it was using the fact that A, this is the one product which is on the BBC, so they're the host broadcast or whatever. Use them and their resources to promote the competition. We see, you know, in a couple of weeks' time when we've got our season launch, which is brilliantly timed for the first weekend of the Six Nations, the Six Nations will be everywhere on the BBC. I'm not comparing the two, they are completely different things, but there will be a Question of Sport special, they'll be all over a BBC breakfast. What are we doing with our product? Why are we saying to Radio 6 Music, why don't you have a competition and a band will play at Wembley in the pre-match, because no one cares who's in the pre-match entertainment at Wembley, and that gives interest to different people who are not Rugby League people, but it's just an idea. Where's the people in the marketing department of the RFL to come up with ideas that don't cost anything, to get involved with the broadcast partners we've already got, to actually get some interest in it without looking at the same people. People are saying, you know, why aren't you selling tickets for the Challenge Cup final? Why are Salford not taking 10,000 people to the Challenge Cup final or whatever? We're selling to the same people time and time again. We've got to sell to new people. Otherwise, we will become an irrelevance, if we're not already.
Yeah, but also as well, just going back to that, Richie, right? The Challenge Cup was for everybody in Rugby League. Was for everybody, and now it's lost that impetus. For whatever reason, but everybody went to watch the Challenge Cup. It didn't matter who got there, but why has it lost it?
It's lost it in the early stages. In the early stage of the Challenge Cup, any team that wants to play should be allowed to play. So if you've set up a little team in, I don't know, Penzance, even if you haven't necessarily won anything ever, you should be able to enter the Challenge Cup. That's the whole idea.
Yeah, I agree.
The Challenge Cup.
I agree.
Well, if you're in Penzance, maybe.
Right,
but now we're picking even the community clubs that we want in the early stages.
Right, let's just say this then, right? Let's just say this season, right? Newcastle, who were spending a couple of quid, right? Let's just say Newcastle this year. Billy Slater, they signed him from Australia. Let's just say they signed Cameron Smith from Australia. Let's just say they signed Jonathan Thurston, who's just retired from Australia.
You know when I said these sweets were LSD?
Hold on. So, why can't a free marquee sign? Because Rugby for sure will take all the money. But the point I'm making here, if Newcastle had signed them free players, would the RFL have gone, oh no, they're in the Challenge Cup, Newcastle. We might have to ask them for a bond because they've signed these free players that can get them there. It's absolutely pathetic. It is.
Yeah, it is. But the question is, they've got to. Well, I think they've got to backtrack and say, look, we've made a monumental cock up here.
That's the only way. That's the only way they're going to say first.
Everyone's Toronto. We apologise. Won't you come in?
Toronto will come in as well if the ball's dropped.
Yeah, exactly. So you're opening up.
That's the only solution to it.
Well, there is
the problem then goes back on the RFL.
Catalan hold the Challenge Cup to ransom for £500,000. The RFL pay the £500,000. Catalan give it back to them as a bond to win the Challenge Cup.
There is a precedence for that in the world of professional wrestling, where Ric Flair was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion in 1991. They had to pay $10,000 deposit to hold the belt. They got rid of him from WCW, went to WWF with the belt because they didn't pay him the deposit back. So the Catalans could do that. There is a precedent for that to happen.
Hold the cup to ransom.
I'm looking forward to this.
So what is the answer then? What is the answer? Because the worry I've got, right, and this is all linked in to what's happened in the last couple of weeks, is quite clearly the RFL are now behind the 8 ball. Now, whatever we were led to believe when Robert Elson was appointed by Ian Lenigan et al., my understanding, his remit was basically to get rid of the RFL. That's what he's saying. We don't want the RFL having anything to do with the sport. We're going to run it our way. Now, the RFL is imploding now. They've, like you said, there's no money. They have got Brian Barwick, And I noticed even Andrew Chalmers of the Bradford Bulls has come out and had a pop at Brian Barwick this,
Well, I
this
think
week.
it's nice that Brian made a statement on this Catalan debacle as chairman of the organisation.
Well, there you go. So, but my point is, you know, we're arguing about funding in the lower leagues. Brian Barwick gets more funding than Workington Town or whoever else, Batley or whoever else it is. Yeah. So, how can that be justified? Who's paying their wages? How long have the RFL got before they go bust? That is a genuine question. What money? They lost £2 million last year. Where that money went? I mean, has anyone actually come out and said, "Oh yeah, we spent £250,000 on this, we spent 300 on that"?
Well, I'll have to issue accounts at some stage with detail of some of that. But the issue for me is one of accountability, which it's been for as long as we can all remember. Transparency as well. Somebody has allowed this to get out of the building. Now, whoever that is, you can understand that around a closed boardroom table, let's say, this wouldn't have happened if there hadn't been a reason for it to happen. Somebody didn't wake up one day and go, "I'll tell you what, we'll charge a fee." The reason that's happening is because perhaps a bank is saying, "We need you to come up with some income."
We don't know that,
No,
but clearly there's a
reason.
we need to get some money.
Right.
We need to get some money.
So somebody has come up with an idea to get some money. But it's the worst idea ever. Who has allowed that idea to become public knowledge and for teams to be written to, and it then becomes a matter of record? The person or people who have decided that should step away from the organisation.